Hey everyone, how's it going? Azrin here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and welcome to today's Learn Gujarati with Me podcast episode and YouTube video. Today's lesson is going to be a little bit more grammar focused, but in a little bit of an unusual way. We're gonna take a deeper look at the Gujarati word order. So we've said many times in these Gujarati lessons that Gujarati has a very, very flexible word order. You can almost put any word anywhere and the sentence will still be fine. Almost. There's like rare exceptions of things you can't do, but pretty much you can take any word, put it anywhere, and the sentence is still going to be correct. Now, what Gujarati people do is they will actually move words around in a sentence to create different effects. So we can't do this in English. We have a harder time doing this, but Gujarati, depending on where you put a certain word, it actually almost has a different psychological significance to the listener. And so I'm going to show you today how this would work. So let me share my screen. All right. So let's just take some kind of a sentence. Let's take something like હું આજે ઘરે એક કેળું ખાઉં છું. હું આજે ઘરે એક કેળું ખાઉં છું. Now, in the previous lessons, one of the things that I've told you is that Gujarati has a quote unquote standard word order. And the standard word order is something like subject, time word. So, hun aje, I, today, location, ghare, at home. So, subject, time word, location. Hun aje, ghare, I, today, at home. Ek keru, one banana. So subject, time word, location, object, keru, a banana, verb, how to. So let's actually write that out here. So I, today, hun aje, at home, one banana, eating, or eat. Eat or eating can be either or, honestly. Eating. Okay, so the first thing about Gujarati word order is we have to keep word clusters together. So, for example, khao chu, when we do verb conjugation, which you already know at this phase of our learning journey, in the present tense, we have two parts of the present tense. We have khao plus chu. There's two parts of that tense. Therefore, we cannot separate khao chu. I cannot take khao and put it here. I cannot say khao hu aje ghare ek keru chu. That is wrong. That is incorrect. That doesn't work. But we can take the entirety of khao chu and we can put it anywhere we want. Like I could say, for example, let's cut this. I could say hu khao chu aje ghare ek keru. I could say that. Hun khao chu aje ghare ek keru. This is an acceptable sentence. Right? Like this khao chu can move pretty much anywhere we want to move it. Same with like ek keru. This goes together. I cannot separate them. So there are certain word blocks and you can't separate the block, but the block can move anywhere in the sentence. Now the question then becomes, and we've talked about this in one previous video, we've talked about it once, but the question then becomes, how do we know what psychological significance moving words around creates? So there's one golden rule, and the golden rule is whatever word cluster or single word comes before the verb, that takes an extra psychological oomph, an extra psychological emphasis. So in this sentence here, hun aje ghare ek keru khao chu, there's a slight emphasis on ek keru. Why? Because the verb is here, khao chu. Oops. Whoa, what the heck happened there? Ek keru. Oh, well, something weird happened there. Ek. There we go. Ek keru is right before the verb. So there's a slight psychological emphasis on ek keru, one banana, or even just on the word keru, banana. There's a slight psychological emphasis. If I move aje and I put it over here before the verb, hun ghare ek keru aje khau chu. Aje, today, now takes extra emphasis. Today is now what's being emphasized. There's something about me eating a banana today that is very important. Right, let's move it back to this quote unquote standard. And again, so this is generally, that's the golden rule. Whatever comes before the verb takes a slight psychological emphasis. So if you, even as a beginner, by the way, you can do this even as a beginner. If you wanted to, you could. You can. So people often ask me, like, Azrin, how do I know where to put the words? Like the Gujarati word order is just like so weird. It's so different from English, which it is. But all you have to do is just remember to put the verb at the end, stick the verb at the end, follow that rules. Verb, the stick it at the very end. Don't put it anywhere else. I know native speakers might move it around and you could put the verb elsewhere. Fine, fair enough. But for you, keep the verb at the end. And then whatever to you feels like is the most important part of the sentence, make sure you put it before the verb. So if you're like, you know what, I'm feeling like it's important that I ate this banana at home today. Then you're going to say, હું આજે એક કેળું ઘરે ખાઉં છું. I'm eating it at home. Ghare takes the emphasis, the psychological weight. I'll tell you a story that'll wrap up today's lesson. Actually, two quick things, then we'll finish today's lesson. So I'm learning Ukrainian. Ukrainian has even more flexible word order than Gujarati does. Ukrainian, yeah, it's even more flexible. Where Gujarati, you have to keep word blocks together, like ik, geru, how to, you have to keep word blocks together. In Ukrainian, it is a truly flexible word order language. It is truly flexible. You can truly put anywhere, any word, any word, anywhere, anytime. Like truly. And in Ukrainian, what they do is they will put emphasis on the very last word. So whatever the last word is takes a psychological emphasis. So when you listen to Ukrainian, because it truly doesn't matter what word goes where. There's a couple rules to it, but pretty much it doesn't matter. One of the golden rules is what goes at the end is what takes the emphasis. So when you're taking in the Ukrainian language, you actually don't translate word per word in your head. What you do is you let the words wash over you, you collect them in a bucket, which is your brain, and the last word colors the rest of the picture. The last word is like what colors it. It's a completely different structure than how English would work, or French, or Spanish, or many other languages, really, where you almost like, if you're learning French or English or Spanish or Mandarin or many other of the world's languages, the majority, I would probably say, arguably, you could almost listen to the language, translate word per word as you hear it, and the order will kind of help you figure out what's being said. That's not the case in Gujarati. It's not the case in Hindi. It's not the case in Ukrainian. It's not the case. These languages have a wildly different logic. The logic is, who the hell cares where the words go? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What we care is that we get all the words in the sentence, and whatever in Gujarati, whatever comes before the verb, that is important. That's highlighted for some reason. That's highlighted. And that's the most important part of the sentence. So for you as a learner, stick your verb at the end. That'll make life easy for you. Everything else, who the heck cares? Don't overthink it. Just open your mouth and start talking. And it's going to be fine. If you do want to really emphasize a certain word because you maybe have a little bit of a higher level, you have some mental space to think about that, just stick that word right before the verb, and then you're sounding like a native speaker. You're actually having native speaker vibes. You're maintaining that. One of the things that happens, let me stop my screen share. In languages like Gujarati or Ukrainian for that matter, I know someone who was telling me in Ukrainian that when foreigners, actually Slavic languages in general, not just Ukrainian, but in Slavic languages, when foreigners speak the language, apparently you still, even if you had perfect pronunciation and perfect grammar, you still sound foreign. They know. If they close their eyes, like, you're American, you're British, you're this, you're that, yeah, you're not native. Even if it's perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar. Why? Because the non-native speakers are not, and teachers don't teach this. It's actually not a very well-known concept from what I've seen, but it's not taught. That psychological weight concept is not taught. So the native speakers, even though it's perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, they structure it much closer to English or their first language, and that is their default. They try and structure it as closely as possible to their English, to their first language, which is right. It's still correct, but it's not how native speakers do it. Their logic is whatever's important goes at the end. In Gujarati, whatever's important goes right before the verb. So all you have to do is stick the verb at the end. Let every other word, wherever the heck you want to put it, it does not matter. Just get all the words there and you're fine, right? And just, if you have the mental space to do it, stick the most important thing to you subjectively right before the verb, and you're good to go. Okay, that's today's lesson. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.